one Myles Garrett. Myles conversation brought to us by the Cleveland Monsters with the best entertainment in the land. Great promotions and affordable tickets. Cleveland Monsters hockey is the perfect outing for any family. With reoccurring games like 1, 2, 3 Fridays, Monster Family Days, Blue Jacket games, and giveaway nights, there is something for everyone. At Rocket Arena when the goal horn sounds, this time, it's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Superman Night presented by GE Lighting with the Cleveland Monsters. Celebrate Superman on Tuesday, December 30th at 6:30 p.m. with Monsters Hockey as they take the ice in Clark Kent warm-ups and Superman-inspired game jerseys. The first 2,500 kids 14 and under get a Superman cape. Tickets are on sale now, so fly on over to clevelandmonsters.com.
I would expect when they wear that jersey, they're going to score like 75 goals.
They better.
Should.
I mean, you got 5 Supermen on the 6, count the
Well,
goalie every
what
play.
if the other team has kryptonite?
Well, that could be true.
Well, speaking of Superman, Myles Garrett has basically been Superman this year for the Cleveland Browns. And yesterday, he did not get the sack record. He didn't have many pressures, but he also didn't have many opportunities because of Pittsburgh's offensive game plan. This is what Myles said after the game about what he thought Pittsburgh did to negate him. Myles said, quote, "To an extent, they were more worried about keeping me away from Aaron than getting the win. That's what came back to bite them," end quote.
Dang, that was facts.
He was 100% right.
For the record,
Facts.
he's not the only player who I heard say that. So that was definitely something they were talking about on the sideline.
Well, you could
I think that's
tell.
I think it's insane.
I think it's insane, too, but I watched the game with my son-in-law, who's a Steelers fan, and I told him after midway through the first quarter, I said, your boy is not going to get sacked today. That is his number one objective. He came to Cleveland and he said, he's not getting a record on me. And in the third quarter, I said, and it might be to his team's detriment. They are going to lose this game because he refuses to play quarterback without worrying about getting sacked by 95.
By the way, if the Steelers don't make the playoffs, I would fire Mike Tomlin, even though he's a very good coach. I would fire him.
I think he will be fired if they miss.
I don't see. I think it's insane to say they were so worried about the record that they weren't worried about going to the playoffs. That's basically what we're saying.
No,
I
because
can't agree with that.
It wasn't an elimination game.
But it could have
If it was an elimination game, I think he would have thrown havoc to the win and said, let's just win the game.
But we're acting like they're related. In order to win the game, you have to avoid Myles. Like, they go hand in hand.
Well, they went
no,
too
that's
far.
not true. Myles has had 3 sacks in a game this year, and they lost.
Yes,
so you can win by getting sacked. I just thought he was overly preoccupied about 95.
Obviously, they didn't care more about the sack record than winning.
That's insane.
But
I feel like Aaron Rodgers did.
No, there's no way.
I just feel like he was laughing when he was talking and saying, you're not getting me today.
I had a player tell me he is so petty, he looked more obsessed without giving him the record than actually winning the game.
I agree with that.
This was
1,000%.
clearly a talking point on their side.
It was an embarrassing game plan by the Steelers.
I have no idea what they were trying to do.
There's never been a player probably in the history of the sport that had a bigger impact on a game without doing anything. Myles Garrett had no stats, basically.
There was one play where they tripled him. I watched it. They tripled him on one play.
Yeah.
He was basicly a slot corner at times yesterday. He was so wide.
Outside of the last drive in the hurry-up, they barely threw the ball.
Listen, before that last drive, I turned the McNuggets on the watch party. Shout out to everybody who did listen to the watch party. We sitting there, I said, do you understand Aaron Rodgers has thrown the ball 33 times and he has 110 yards?
Because everything was a screen pass.
I mean, the fourth down was an embarrassment.
How many passes did he have to a wide receiver?
The fourth down fade route. They threw a fade on 4th down.
That was insane.
There were only 16. There were only 16 catches by wide receivers in the game. Period. Both teams combined.
I don't understand Pittsburgh's game plan at all yesterday.
That was crazy.
None of it made sense.
It was crazy. I don't know what on earth they were doing. I agree with something you said earlier. Mason Graham, I thought, had an excellent game. It was his best game in a while.
Yeah, he played well.
He was impactful. Devin Bush has had a really nice season.
Denzel Ward stood up.
He played well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Denzel.
That was pass interference on that last play.
No, that was good.
It was questionable.
No.
It was questionable.
It was questionable.
It could go either way.
I personally wouldn't have called it because it determines the winner or loser, perhaps.
It was a nobody receiver.
By not calling it,
it's a nobody receiver against Denzel Ward. Denzel's good.
That makes no sense. That's
but I love Denzel's comments after the game.
That's how good.
But I agree with him.
Why are you trying me 3 times at the end of the game?
That's insane.
It makes absolutely no sense
The one
whatsoever.
guy you don't want to challenge is
And
the
then
one guy they
went
went
at
at
him 3
every
straight
time.
times.
Tyson Campbell. Let me talk to you about Tyson Campbell.
Incredible.
Tyson Campbell had a heck of a game.
Played well.
I mean, this guy, it was a throw over the middle, and you knew you receivers, when you trailing a receiver over the middle, we all seen it on a dig or a slant route. It's like your hand is in a cookie jar because defensive backs want to get handsy. They want to reach over quick. He did a great job 3 or 4 times putting his hand and deflecting it right at the last moment. We call that, Tyvis, where you at, man? Tyvis, let them know you got to have them timing hands. You got to be patient with them. Oop, no, get out of here. Nope, I got that too. I thought he had a game. Let me talk about Carson Schwesinger real quick.
Oh, what heart.
Man, that dude, I'm going to tell you, this dude was hobbling. We said take him out the game. We said he can't, listen, he's hurt, get him up out of here. For him to be hobbling around the way he did, and I turned to Earl and I said, you know why they ain't taking him out? I don't think Jim Shores trusts anybody to get him lined up.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that had a lot to do with it.
And he said, you know what, you got to stay in. But look what, I mean.
Wasn't it a risk of him getting further?
Yes.
A, you're right on that.
Yeah.
And B, my thing was, and I'm screaming, get him out of the game.
I was too.
Because what does Aaron Rodgers do? He dissects a team's weakness and then attacks it. I couldn't believe that he wasn't running tight ends right at him.
The one play on third down.
He did.
And but
I was surprised they didn't do it more. That's usually what Aaron Rodgers at the end of the half looked over at his sideline and basically told him to STFU. I don't know if you guys remember that. They were running the try.
Yeah.
He looks right over at him. And
At the Browns sideline?
No, Steelers.
Oh, Steelers.
He's basically telling them, shut. He was mad at a substitution that they had made. He basically was saying, I've got this.
Yeah.
He did the same thing at the end of the game. He takes them right down the field at the end of the game and then makes 4 of the worst decisions I've ever seen him make.
The point on Schlesinger, so yesterday after the game, we're in the locker room, and the locker room basically cleared out. Like, all the players were gone. That's how long it was. Like, everybody was showered, dressed, and leaves. And he was just now coming out of the trainer's room, dragging his leg to get to his locker, still in full uniform. Not full uniform, his pads were off, but still in his uniform. And, I mean, I don't know how long time-wise, but everybody else was dressed, showered, dressed, and gone. And he was just getting done with his treatment and leaving the locker room. So, I mean,
it's a guy
dude's a warrior.
Didn't miss a week with a high ankle.
I mean, the guy's an awesome player. He is the best draft pick that Andrew Berry's ever made. To this point,
we give Andrew Berry a lot of credit on this year's draft, but we also I don't know.
We're giving him way too much credit. In
well,
my opinion,
I don't. I think he's got 4 hits, and if you get 4 hits in a draft, that's a good draft.
Mason Graham's got to be a superstar. It's not a hit.
Yeah, to me, he's got 4 hits. Greg Newsome, what's Greg doing? How's he
Nothing.
doing? At last check, he was a nickel corner. Was getting benched.
Jay said a nickel corner for a second.
Yeah, a nickel bag. You say, dang,
he's a nickel corner.
He called him a dime bag? That's crazy.
And so I think he gets credit for the Campbell
Tyson Campbell.
Like, so throw that into the Andrew Berry fire for this year. Moves that he's made this year that has made this team markedly better.
Do you consider the fact that he did, in fact, trade for Cam Robinson as a negative?
That's a fact. That's a fact. He did that. That's a negative.
Are we doing a topic on that?
We're going to get to I'm just busting Jay's balls.
Okay. All right.
If we're going to give him credit for the good trade, we do have to mention
that trade wasn't the problem. The trade was triage for the earlier problem.
Yeah, then what are you going to do?
So we got to listen. We got to get to what the chat was calling it. This was wild work. I cannot believe this.
Save it because we're going to do a whole specific topic on it. Last thing before we move on, Bull, do you believe yes or no the Steelers did care more about not letting Myles break the record?
No, he's already said.
Of course not. That's silly. But they were worried way too much about it.
Yeah.
Way too much. That they got out of everything. And that shows you that why Myles Garrett is the best player in football by far, or at least the best defensive player in football by far. Because I have never seen a team react to one player like that I can recall.
In my mind, does Joe Burrow take a lot of sacks?
Yes. Less lately and by the way, when everybody was, not that it matters because they stink, but early in the season when people kept saying the same narrative that the Bengals offensive line stinks, I said, hold on, I think this is the best offensive line he's ever had. And early in the season it wasn't. The second half of the season they've been very good.
Yeah.
So it's better. But he still takes sacks because he holds the ball and looks to make plays. I actually didn't watch a minute of their game yesterday because it was on the same time as the Browns.
And
because they're out of it, I wasn't worried
for
about it.
Yeah.
And they won in blowout fashion.
Rodgers gotten rid of the ball quickly all year. His time to throw was like 2.5 seconds, but it was
Myles will sack Burrow.
But I looked at
you think?
No, I'm talking to Rodgers. Not Burrow.
No, I know. I'm saying
yesterday. Yeah, he probably will.
He will.
But Aaron has gotten it out quickly all year. He's like 2.5 seconds. It's really fast. Yesterday was even faster.
Yeah, it was
so
crazy.
there is, if you want to buy the conspiracy, whatever. I don't. I think that I don't understand what their game plan was.
It was
Like, I
nuts.
have no idea what
Yeah.
they were trying to
I hope
accomplish.
they lose. I'm rooting for the Ravens next week.
That would be wild.
Yeah,
That'd be-
that's
If
pretty
Lamar
wild.
plays, I think the Ravens win.
I will say, if you look at it, you just flip it to the Steelers' perspective. If you're a Steelers fan, that was an unacceptable
Oh,
loss.
my God.
You lost with a
Absolutely.
rookie quarterback, the worst offensive line, no weapons.
you didn't score one touchdown.
They got
Yeah.
3. They got 6 points
That's it.
when you could have clinched.
Now, the loss of DK obviously
Huge.
stunts their
Yeah.
offense. Boy, their offense is bad, too.
I mean, then they lost Washington.
and
on top
Austin
of
was
that.
out, and then Washington went out. I mean, they did have, they've got some injuries.
you-
racking
I mean,
up
you
too,
gotta
but
score.
You're playing for the
but the
division.
Browns
The
got
Browns are
nothing.
playing for nothing.
You're playing
and
a
you got
3-win
beat.
team. You have to score one
They
touchdown.
got a Hall of
against
Fame
them.
quarterback. He's got to win that game
Yes.
for them.
And I,
Yes.
I just can't believe that we actually own the Steelers in something.
Yeah.
6 of the last 7 times in Cleveland
nuts.
we've won.
That's
Well,
wild.
then don't look at the record in Pittsburgh.
Well,
because-
I'm going to
yeah,
totally
yeah,
ignore that.
I don't remember.
I'm just glad we got the
It's
leg
what
up
have
on
you
them
done
with
for me
something.
lately?
It is
Jay.
wild to think that they won 4 straight in Cleveland.
I
like,
just-
Ben Roethlisberger is 3rd on the all-time wins list in Cleveland, Brown Stadium, Huntington Bank,
No, he's
whatever.
not.
Yes, he is.
He's second.
No, Flacco passed him.
No, I don't think
It's
he
Baker
did.
and Flacco.
Well, Flacco
It's Baker
did.
and Flacco.
Well, Flacco also had some
played.
Baltimore wins,
Yeah,
too.
he got them Baltimore wins.
Flacco
Yeah.
also was mostly
Yeah, I know,
Ravens.
but
Yeah.
he nudged ahead of Ben based
Oh,
on
did
his
he?
time here.
Yeah, I think I saw
It's
that
still
too.
insane.
It's insane.
Yeah,
but that's how much the Steelers
number
have
2 and number
dominated.
3. We've had 44 quarterbacks.
And the
Number
Brown-
2 and number 3 are not Browns.
Most of their career was spent elsewhere. Number 2, most of his career was
Yeah,
spent elsewhere.
Flacco
3,
played a handful of home games.
Ben
for us.
never played one game for the Browns. He's 3rd in that stadium's all-time wins
just
list.
insane.
It's still.
But you know what? The best thing that ever happened to Cleveland in terms of playing Pittsburgh and Cleveland was Ben retired. And now
Yeah.
we own them. It feels good to say. Steelers, we own you in Cleveland. And you know it. You do not want to
Talk
come
your
back
stuff.
to Cleveland.
Talk it.
Talking, Jay. All right, guys, let's get
I
to
hope
our
that- I'm with
next
you, Will. I'm
topic.